everybody, I'm Sarah. Today we're talking about Casual Game Insider, a full-color, beautiful magazine that is published by Casual Game Revolution. Last year, Nick and I kickstarted the 8th year of Casual Game Insider, and we have just recently received and finished reading through the last issue of the magazine that we will get this year. It is a quarterly magazine, so we received 4 issues. I've read all 4, cover to cover, and I have some thoughts. So, the 9th year for this just recently wrapped up. The 9th year on Kickstarter wrapped up. We decided not to back it this time around, and it's because I have some fairly large issues with the publication of these magazines. My full and complete review is on my website, which is Settler of Catan, mayorofmanchicoro.com, and you can check it out there for more examples or greater detail on any of the stuff that I'm about to mention. All right, so it's a really, really beautiful magazine. Very eye-catching, very high-quality appearance. It's got these high-gloss pictures, and there are multiple pages. There's over 30 pages of every magazine. So it is beautiful. And I was really excited about having a magazine, even just a quarterly one, that was completely about board games. And I thought that it was going to be a really fun and just sort of a relaxing thing to have in my home. But unfortunately, that's not actually the way I felt after I got and read through each issue. And that is because, in my opinion, there are some significant areas that are lacking in the production of this magazine. And one of the biggest ones is that the articles that are in these magazines are either sponsored or they are really, really lightweight articles. And there is so much sponsorship involved in these magazines that I just felt like I was reading like a huge ad. And every once in a while that there was occasionally an article that was of minor interest or something like that. So it really, really felt like there was just giant ad and that anybody with money could have purchased a say in the articles in this magazine. Every magazine has a sponsored cover story. So all of the covers that you see here are actually sponsored cover stories that are written by representatives from the publishers of these games. So to me, like, yeah, that's cool. You tell me information about the game and stuff like that, but it essentially is just a big ad for your game or your publishing company. So that was kind of disappointing. Additionally, there are a bunch of articles throughout that are either directly sponsored or they're written by representatives from publishers, and they're written in such a way that they're just all about that publishing company and the games that they create. Which, again, like, that's kind of cool. You get some information about those games and that publisher, but it's all written from the perspective of someone who only wants to tell you the absolute best and brightest things. That's not really what I was hoping for. I didn't want them to, but tearing people apart or anything like that. But if there's something negative to say, then say it, And I think, like, if there's something positive to say, definitely say that for sure. And if you can only say one of those things, say the positive thing. But I just felt like this was really, really sugar-coated, and I really felt like if I was not a more intelligent person, or if I wasn't a more discerning person, that the way that some of this is laid out would be sort of deceptive to me, because they are laid out as if they're actually like articles, when in fact, to me, they're just ads. So I had a pretty big problem with how much of the content of these magazines was sponsored or was sort of influenced in some way or another just because of money. So that was one of my major issues with this. Another thing that I had a big problem with was that the representation behind these magazines is really, really skewed. There's only one female writer on staff. and she self-references as a board game groupie. I understand we're living in a day and age when people can self-identify however they want, and we're not supposed to make judgments about that. I understand that, and most of the time I'm okay with that. But a groupie, that word has some pretty negative connotations for people my age, and to be the only female on staff, the only female representative at all, and to choose to represent yourself in that way was pretty disappointing to me. I think anytime that we are face to face with another person, whether that's in person or through our work or things like that, we have the responsibility to who we are, to represent that in the best way possible. If you're a female, you should try to represent that in the best way possible. If you're a Christian, you should try to represent that in the best way possible. If you're a gamer, you should try to represent that in the best way possible, right? We want people to think well of us and of who we represent. And for me, that is not the best way to do it, by equivocating yourself to a groupie. Even if it's something I love board games. I get the general sentiment there. I do. But to be the only female on staff and to represent yourself in that way just felt really slimy. And that was really unfortunate, especially because there is, in this entire year's worth of content, there is only one article in here that is written by any other female. And she's a representative from one of those companies I was talking about earlier. So to have that little amount of representation and to have it sort of colored over with that crayon just really doesn't leave a good taste in my mouth. Additionally, there are no people of color on staff at this magazine, and only one article in this entire year-long run of the magazine was written by a person of color, a guest writer. So I kind of felt like in reading through these magazines, I wasn't seeing the kind of people that I wanted to be seeing represented here. Not just in the contributors, but also in the content itself. There are a few discussions with designers or things like that, and all of the designers highlighted were white males, except one. There's one article, they showcase 6 designers, all 6 of them are white males. There's another article where they they actually interviewed like 5 more designers, and 4 of those 5 are white males. And we are living in a really lovely time in the hobby as far as diversity and inclusion. There are so many people out there, people of color, people of different gender identities, people of different beliefs, and this just doesn't represent the industry in its current state. And it doesn't represent me as a hobbyist, and that was really, really a big letdown. So I had some problems with this. I also had some problems with the content that wasn't sponsored. I felt like it was really, really lacking overall in quality. For example, there's a party games article in this version in this issue of the magazine, and as you can see, the very first party game that they talk about in this article is Codenames. Codenames is a classic, to be sure, great party game. But this is the most recent. This is less than a year old, and they decided to go with Codenames as the very first party game in their article about party games. You can see below here they also picked Secret Hitler. These are excellent party games, sure, but they're also older party games. There are so many games that come out every year, and this article and others constantly went back to older classics. There was another article where they were talking about, hey, if you like this kind of board game, then try this one. And I'm serious, the references were, if you like Settlers of Catan, try Takenoko. Or, I'm sorry, Machi Koro. If you like, I can't even remember, but it was seriously, if you like Settlers of Catan, try Machi Koro. Machi Koro is like 8 years old. If you like Settlers of Catan, I can tell you a bunch of games that came out this year. We're only like 8 months into this year, and I can tell you a bunch of games this year that came out that you should try if you like Settlers of Catan. So situations like that just felt really like the writers and the magazine staff didn't have like a relevant, timely approach to the publication of this magazine. And that was like just another point of disappointment on top of all the other ones. It's gorgeous. They're full color. They've got, you know, beautiful pictures and articles, and everything looks on the surface like it should be grand. But just below that surface is a very disappointing quagmire of subpar content and disappointment. And I'm really sorry to say that. I know that the people who work on this work on it. I know that it took a lot of work to put these together. And while I appreciate their efforts, I wish that they would have done better. So we did not back that the 9th year. It just wrapped up on Kickstarter a couple weeks ago. We did not back it because of my problems with this, but I also didn't want to release this review ahead of them finishing, not because I think that I have any real influence, but I didn't want anybody to be really excited about this and then see this and decide not to back it. If you did back the 9th year, I hope that you enjoy the magazine. I hope that maybe some of these issues that I had with their 8th year have been cleared up by then. And there are some fun things in here, right? It's like I said, it's beautiful. It's got a lot of content, even if that content is surfacey and sort of shallow. It does have a lot of content in it. Every issue comes with a free roll and write style print and play, or a print and play game that you can actually like just cut right out of the magazine and use supplies from home, you know, 6-sided die or that kind of thing that you can get out of any one of your board games, and you can play this. There were you know, articles that were interesting to a certain extent. There's a few nice things in here. I was just overall, I was massively disappointed in the quality of the content and the lack of representation and inclusion behind these magazines. Anyway, those are my thoughts. If you would like to know more fully, like I said, I have some examples and stuff like that, and I do talk a little bit more about it on the review that I wrote, which is on my website, Settler of Catan, mayorofmachikoro.com. I will leave you with a recommendation. If you are looking for a board game magazine that you might enjoy, instead of Casual Game Insider, I would like to recommend Game Trade Magazine. It's not quite as pretty. It doesn't have the full color glossy appearance that Casual Game Insider does, but this magazine is chock full of all kinds of industry related information, and I would much prefer this over Casual Game Insider. So my recommendation is Game Trade Magazine. Check it out. It's a very cool magazine. It is going to make you want to buy all of the games though. All right, until next time, I'm Sarah. Thanks for watching.